Welcome back, hackers. Have you ever run an encounter that looks something like this? You walk into a room. There's a bad guy. I hit it. He loses hit points. I hit it. He loses hit points and hits you back. I lose hit points. I hit it. It dies. Well, if you have, today we're going to look at 4 tips to make encounters more than just hitting a bag of hit points with a stick. Not all of these tips need to be used in every encounter, but every one of these tips should be considered on each encounter that you make, and some of them should be used in every battle. Make sure you stay till the end of the video where we'll use these 4 tips to make an example of an encounter. Tip 1. Dynamic environment. Putting your party in a square room with a flat floor and no obstacles is a recipe for a boring encounter. Having a dynamic environment is like having an additional enemy in the battle. The environment can be a lot of things: shifting floors, furniture scattered all around, traps throughout the room, thick fog, or dark brackish water. On top of this, whatever the environment is, the bad guys are familiar with it and will use it against the party. Tell me about some of your favorite environmental effects that you have experienced down in the comments below. Tip 2. Unpredictable enemies. There is a great book and a series of articles online called The Monsters Know What They Are Doing. If you get a chance, check them out. They're very informative. Most monsters aren't just going to stand still and swing at the party until you kill them. One of the things that makes D&D different than a video game is that the bad guys are more than just a stat block. They can use strategy, and 2 different fights against the same enemy can look completely different based on the decisions the bad guys make and the strategies that they use. Encounters can also be different than the players expect by subverting their expectations. Maybe one of the bandits is actually a werewolf that will transform partway through the fight. Maybe the enemies have surprising allies that make an appearance. Maybe they have a magical item that they can employ that the party is not prepared for. Tip 3. Unique objectives. Some fights are a matter of which side loses all their hit points first. Some fights are merely a distraction from accomplishing the main objective. Consider having encounters with objectives other than kill all the monsters. Alternate methods of victory could be to stop the ritual before it completes, destroy the MacGuffin that is controlling the prince, or hold the line until the civilians can escape. Sometimes you can even convince the enemy to surrender with a properly timed intimidate or persuasion check. Tip 4. Narrative twists. Including twists and dialogue into your encounters can help to move the overall plot forward even while the battle is happening. A classic trope is the monologuing bad guy who, thinking that he's going to win, taunts the players by telling them about the information he bought from one of their allies. Maybe he lets something slip about his boss that you didn't know. Perhaps a perceptive player notices something about the enemy, like a special kind of mud on his shoes that can only be found in certain places. It can also help engage players by using their backstories during a combat. Partway through the fight, the boss might pull down his hood to reveal he is actually the paladin's childhood friend. This can force moral quandaries upon your players and make the battles unforgettable. Now let's create an example that takes each of these elements into account. We will have the party adventuring through a vast desert. Suddenly a sandstorm sweeps in, limiting vision to just a few feet and revealing a ruined temple that was buried in the sand. The players can see silhouettes of native animals approaching them from within the storm, only to discover that they are sand elementals as they get closer. The party realizes that every time an elemental is destroyed, another one rises out of the sand to take its place. But if they climb out of the sand and onto the stones of the ruins, the elementals can't sense them any longer. As soon as everyone is off the sand, a familiar voice says, "Finally, you have brought me the MacGuffin. Now my plans are complete." Now you see how you can use dynamic environments, unpredictable enemies, unique objectives, and narrative twists to make encounters interesting and dynamic. Try adding 1 or 2 of these to an encounter and see how your players respond. Thanks for joining me on this journey in encounter building. Like and subscribe so that you'll be notified when I have more videos come out. And until then, keep on hacking the dungeon.